Sarah could call, asking her to limit contact to once or twice weekly and avoid calling during school hours or late at night. Sarah was incredibly grateful for this compromise and promised to be respectful of boundaries and not pressure the kids for more contact than they were comfortable with, though I remain skeptical about whether she'll actually stick to these limitations given how desperately she seems to want to reconnect. I'm honestly not sure if I made the right decision, because part of me worries that any contact will give Sarah false hope that she can eventually work her way back into a more significant role, leading to more disappointment and conflict. At the same time, I don't want to be the one making this decision for Jake and Emma, especially since Emma expressed genuine curiosity about limited contact. I guess we'll see how this plays out, but I wanted to update everyone who had been following our situation and let you know that your advice about prioritizing the children's emotional well-being has been incredibly helpful. Update 2. As mentioned in my last update, we had agreed to let Sarah have limited phone contact with the understanding that communication would be entirely voluntary and she would respect our established boundaries about frequency and timing. For the first few days, this seemed to work reasonably well. Sarah called Emma twice during the week, and Emma actually answered both times, having brief but polite conversations about school and her interests, though Emma told me afterward that the conversations felt weird and forced and she wasn't sure what to say to someone who was basically a stranger but kept referring to herself as Emma's mother. Jake, true to his word, refused to answer Sarah's calls and eventually blocked her number after she called several times in one day, which I thought was a reasonable way to maintain his boundary. The problem started this week when Emma, dealing with midterm exams and a big presentation she was nervous about, stopped answering Sarah's calls because she was busy studying and didn't have the emotional energy for what she described as awkward conversations with someone who doesn't really know me. Instead of understanding that a 13-year-old might have other priorities, Sarah became increasingly anxious about not reaching Emma, and began calling more frequently and leaving increasingly desperate voicemails asking Emma to please call back because she was worried she had said something wrong or that Emma was being prevented from talking to her. Emma showed me some of these voicemails, and they were concerning because Sarah sounded very emotional and almost frantic, talking about how much she missed Emma and how important these conversations were to her mental health and her hope for rebuilding their relationship. One message particularly bothered me because Sarah said she had been looking forward to their talks all week and that not hearing from Emma was bringing back all the feelings of loss and regret. When I talked to Emma about the voicemails, she admitted they were making her feel guilty and anxious, and that she was starting to regret agreeing to any contact because she felt like Sarah was expecting more than she was able or willing to give. She said talking to Sarah felt like homework rather than something she wanted to do. I reassured Emma that she didn't owe Sarah anything and could stop taking calls anytime without feeling guilty, and we agreed she would take a break from phone contact to focus on schoolwork and give herself space to think about whether she wanted to continue this arrangement. But instead of respecting Emma's need for space or checking with me about why calls weren't being answered, Sarah made a decision that has completely shattered any trust I might have had in her ability to put the children's needs ahead of her own desires. Yesterday afternoon, I got a call from Emma's school counselor informing me that an unknown woman had come to the school claiming to be Emma's mother and demanding to see her, and that the school had to call security when the woman became agitated and refused to leave when told she wasn't authorized to visit Emma. Apparently, Sarah had gone to the school office during lunch and told the secretary she was Emma's biological mother and needed to speak with her daughter because there was a family emergency, and when school staff checked their records and saw that Lisa was listed as Emma's mother and emergency contact, they told Sarah they couldn't allow her to see Emma without proper authorization. According to the counselor,